welcome in. Hello, good morning from Texas in United States of America, I should say. I am Jacob here with Ashmatic today on the pre-match pump up. Good morning. I hope you are doing well. I'm absolutely too blessed to be stressed. Ash, before we jump into everything, I hope you are well. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm very well. I'm good. It's a bit cold down here on my way, so we're wrapping up tight, wrapping up warm, and I'm sure it's freezing in Manchester. But hopefully the vibes warm us up, and we've got something to sing about.
I love that. Hopefully, it does keep you nice and warm. It is getting chilly everywhere. At least here in El Paso, it is a little chilly this morning for me as well. So, look, a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. First and foremost, for me, Ash, the thing that I've been hearing all week is we don't have a chance. Now, I've provided a few reasons why throughout the week. I've sprinkled in a little bit of love and care, so to speak, and really some positive vibes why I think we might be able to get a point today. Now, for you, Ash, where do you stand? What is the temperature for you? Do you feel like we can go into the Etihad today on this very cold afternoon in Manchester and get the job done in some facet? Do you think it's just a matter of playing our brand and let's see what happens? Where do you stand?
I think, in terms of performance, I think we can do something. Performance-wise, I think we can give them a game, and we can show them what we're about. If we have enough, that is debatable for me. I just think looking at the last few games, because we're missing out on our first 11, I'm just questioning the clinicalness of Spurs. So I'm in that middle ground where I'm like, yeah, we can give City the game. We've got nothing to lose. And I think that will help us mentally. I think that will help us going
Mm-hmm.
forward. So I expect us to turn up and give them a good game. We always do. We always give them a game. We always show them something. So basing on the performance against Villa, I know we're at home and this time we're away. I just think City, the way they've been playing, they just may have a little edge on us. In the last few away games, especially, they have been like getting away with the result. But again, it's 11v11. Anything's possible, and that's the vibes I want to come with, bro.
At the end of the day, it is the most beautiful sport in the world. It is the world sport. And to me, one of the things as a kid, as growing up, is still to this day as an adult, I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, believe anything can happen on any given day. Just because you are X, Y, and Z, that doesn't mean that I can't take care of you on the day. It is anybody's game on the day. That's kind of what I've loved about the Premier League is you get these David versus Goliath, so to speak, a small man versus a giant, and somehow, some way, it's just mental resiliency. At the end of the day, we're all humans. Just because they are more touted and more projected to have successes this season, and rightfully so, they're a very good team. No disrespect to them. But some people, quite frankly, say that we have no chance. I've seen a lot of 6-0s, 5-0s for cities, and
Yeah.
honestly, to me, if we win or we lose, I feel like we're gonna at least score one goal, potentially two. This is gonna be, in my opinion, an end-to-end affair. I feel like City are gonna really be licking their chops at the opportunity to see somebody willing to bring a game to them. Because think about it, when you play Manchester City, they know that typically teams are just going to sit back, allow the pressure, and see how long they can hold up and potentially catch City on the counter. That's what their bread and butter. They're used to that. But now this we're not bringing what the so this is going to be in a fighter's world. Two boxers that are going to get out there and just start swinging. They're not trying to fight for 12 rounds. They're trying to fight for right now. And honestly, I think it's going to be a neutrals, very fun to watch. Remember, Ash, City did have 4-4 with Chelsea, and this is someone very very much further down the table, not always getting goals when they should. So for me, I feel like goals, there will be goals. We will score goals, they will score goals. Whether you feel like a win or a loss is on the books or a draw, whatever it may be, I want to know. So let me know in the chat where you were tuning in from and what you think the result will be. And I will see them. I will make sure to at least say hello to some people. But Ash, do you
Yes.
think we're gonna be held scoreless today? That's some of the predictions I've heard. I've heard some people thinking that we're not gonna get anything from this. That it's just a matter of we should sit back and be defensive. So I guess I'm gonna really hit you with a double question here, Ash.
Mm.
How do you feel about Ange Postecoglou saying, "No, I'm going to play my style. I'm not going to sit back and play defensive. I'm going to do what it is that is my style, regardless of who I'm playing." Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with that? And secondly, do you think we can get some goals out of this?
I think we tried to do the whole pragmatic approach before. With Wolves, I think we went slightly more defensive in terms of the players we put in. And I think he was absolutely fuming. I know we didn't come out in the press, but I think he looked at that and he was like, that is not the brand of football and philosophy or the type of attitude that I want these players to be having on the pitch. If you're going to represent me and you're going to represent my brand and you're going to represent what I think football is, then we need to move away from that as far as possible. So I think that's why he's doubling down and saying, look, this is my philosophy. This is what I experienced growing up. This is how I see football. I think this is how you win games. And if you're going to win games, you're going to die trying. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's that type of attitude. It's that type of fight he's bringing.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to bring guns, you know what I'm saying, to a knife fight. That's what he's trying to do. So he's going to be swinging, as you said before. And Aston Villa was the perfect response for that. No, we didn't win the game, but in terms of performance and attitude and application, I thought that was Ange all over. And I don't think this game he's going to have a low block or sit back and try to absorb City's pressure because it's just not in his DNA. It's not in his thinking. It's not in his mantra. And if he wants the players to really get behind him, then if he all of a sudden changes tactics, he's going to lose all credibility straight away. And so for me, I think in this game, he's going to say, let's have a go. Do you know what I mean? And I think he's even said that I'm paraphrasing now. I think he's actually come out and said, like, no matter what happens, we're going to have a go. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, as a fan, I'm not really expecting nothing much from City away. But if we perform and we do the business, and also back to your other question about scoring goals, because I haven't answered that. We typically score against City. And you mentioned already Chelsea. Chelsea managed to get 4 past him. The defense hasn't been solid this season, so that we can get a goal or 2 against them. Son, as you know, likes to score against City. Kulusevski scored in his debut against them. Even Eric Dyer in 2005, was it 2015, 2016, scored a goal. I think I saw on the Spurs website.
Mm-hmm. Steven
So
Bergwijn comes to mind
Steven
as well in his
Bergwijn.
debut versus City. You were
So
speaking
I
about
mean,
the wins and points. This was a graphic I saw making the rounds this week in regards to records against Man City since 2016-17. I think what you're talking about may even track back further. So it's interesting to see some of these numbers. However, Ash, as much as I love our record versus City, as much as I love the memories that we have winning 3-2 at the Etihad in most recent memory, outside of that, what does that have to do with today? How can we use that and help translate that to success on the pitch today? Where do you see us getting success? First of all, I know the starting lineup hasn't come out yet. That's still about 16 minutes away until we see who the starting lineup is. But for me, I just think it's going to be one of those whoever wants it more can grab it. I think they can be got at. They can absolutely have goals scored on them. Now, I would say midweek, if you did watch a Champions League match between City and RB Leipzig, I was watching that. The first half, I'm sitting there thinking, hey, man, we may be able to get at this team. Look at that. 2 in the first half. But then they did exactly what they did to us last year, which was go down 2 at half and then end up with the second half going 3 up. So, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because there is for me the fears of last year, the fears of this is a Man City squad that essentially whenever they want to turn it on that they can. But Ho LA Spurs says upset today. Is there any way? Let's just first and foremost, I've said on record that I think we could go out there and we could potentially get a draw if we play our brand of football and we things go our way, that I think we could go out there and get a draw. That's not too far fetched. But would it be even more far fetched to stretch that, Ash, into could we potentially go to the Etihad and pick up all 3 points? Is there any possibility of that today?
I mean, that's the dream, right? As fans, you want to dream and you want to have your heads high up. You want to kind of manifest that kind of situation happening when we get all 3 points. But let me add this at the same time, yeah. If we was to lose, that's 3 points against the City, and Arsenal lose momentum. Now, I'm a man that likes to focus on my own team. I don't want to talk about opposition. But as a consolation, like stopping their run, it's silver linings. I'm looking at silver
You know,
linings.
there is no shame in losing. There's no shame in losing to a club at their home in which they are predicted to win the Premier League and the Champions League this year. So if that, and let's not forget they did that last year. So
Listen,
this is not an easy matchup by any means, but I love to think that in any realm of the world, like this is a competition. We could go out there and get something done. Look, Christian Liverman from Washington, D.C. says 2-2 draw, Son and Kulu to score. Love that prediction. Leighton says delusional people. Look, delusional or not, I don't think you can be delusional about a prediction because of the word delusional in the sense. But look, whatever your prediction may be, I think a lot of people are concerned because of just all the amount of injuries that we have now. Is it any consolation to you that Yves Basuma should be, by all intents purposes, he should be starting today and he'll be back? Do you think we see Yves Basuma from Luton Town, or do we see the Yves Basuma back-to-back man of the match performances, first 8 matches of the season? We're thinking, y'all got Declan Rice for how much, and we spent how much for Yves Basuma? What's your take on that?
I'm hoping it's the latter. I'm hoping that the Ease Basuma turns up like prime Manchester United dominating it, Arsenal dominating it. Cruyff turns in the box, that type of Basuma. And if we do see that type of performance, I think he's actually key for us actually winning because he will act like an extra man in midfield if he does play. We saw how Bentancur played, and everyone was raving. We couldn't figure out if Bentancur was the actual 6 or the 8 because he was so far forward at times, but then when he wanted to, he was controlling from deep. So it was like, what is he? And I want that type of performance from Basuma because a lot of people were like, Basuma can't do the 6 before the season started. That was he can't do the 6. He can't, and he proved everyone wrong. And he just made it so that he kind of made that role a hybrid role, and that basically typically suits Ange's system where all midfielders or all actual members in the team are fluid. They can play any position. So if we do have a Basuma that's up for it, I'm hoping because the cards have been taken off his back, he's going to have all the freedom and he's not going to have anything on his mind thinking, oh, if I do this wrong, I might lose, I might pick up another yellow card or I might get sent off, etc., etc. So hopefully it was just that um, that was holding him back and he's able to play freedom. And I heard Ange had a word with him as well, spoke to him about it. And he knows himself. He knows what type of performance he can bring out. But what I found even more interesting, it's against the big teams where I see East Basuma step up. It wasn't just with Tottenham, but also at Brighton. That's when I noticed him the most. When it was against the Liverpool, when it was against an Arsenal, that was the time when he knocked them out and he started laughing in their faces. And that was before he went to our club. So I'm seeing that pattern again. When it's against Manchester United, he turned up. Against Arsenal, he turned up. So I'm hoping against City, it's the same thing. Maybe he's just a big game player and he just relishes that kind of responsibility on his type of shoulders. Because, yeah, I mean,
He's like, I'll play really great against the big clubs, but versus the small ones, I'm gonna pull a man down by his collar, get a cheeky yellow, and then, not even 15 minutes will go by, and I'll flop in the box and get another yellow and get sent off for Luton Town. Which, you know what, it is what it is. I've forgiven the man. He did his crime. He did his time, and then he ended up picking his 5th yellow anyway. So then he got suspended for the following match versus Villa. But look, Basuma in the midfield, I think we need a solid rock there. For me, he's been absolutely instrumental in the beginning part of the season to what we were doing. So I would absolutely hope that he comes back to being the old Basuma that we've seen at least for the beginning part of this season. Another thing I want to ask you, it's going to be a hot topic. We're going to find out in about 8.5 minutes, Ash. But Center backs. Emerson Royale is not a
Mhm.
center back. Ben Davies, it's arguably if he's a center back. What do you think as far as Jeremy Doku potentially on their left wing, flying in one on an Emerson Royale playing at the right side at center back? Do you think that that is an avenue in which we could potentially see a lot of not joy, the opposite of joy, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big concern for all Spurs fans that you're playing Emerson Royal, who, funny enough, is probably one of our better fullbacks defensively, but we're playing him out of position as a centre back. I'm hoping that it's a tricky one. It's techie, because obviously Porro, again, going forward, he's good, but defensively suspect. So you expect someone like Porro to maybe help out in that situation. But I'm hoping for
You know he's
whoever.
going to be tucking up so far inside that he's not going to who that's why I'm saying I know there's going to be moments where Doku, Holland, one-on-one, either Davies or well maybe not even one-on-one because if Davies and Emerson Royale can kind of stick as like a solid two back there, they can move in a shape and I think try and sandwich whatever that pressure may be, but once you have like uh let's say Davies and Royale here, and you have Holland working through the middle. When Doku's one-on-one, he's bringing that ball. Emerson has to go pick him up. You know what I mean? So then that's going to leave Erling Holland one-on-one with Davies. Vice versa on the right could be Phil Foden, Julian Alvarez. Who take your pick, dealer's choice. But Ash, I'm actually very concerned when I think about it.
I think that's why Basuma or even whoever's playing the six role has a massive job, and equally whoever's playing that Sar type of role has a massive job because at times they're going to have to fill in as a fullback and they're going to have to help out. So when Emerson is playing that centre back on the right hand side, at times I think yeah, your SARS, not your SARS, so your Basuma or whoever's playing the right center, the right eight, he's gonna have to turn into a fullback straight away because Porro might be out of position and then he's gonna have to fill in. And the midfielders that we have do have enough defensive attributes to kind of deal with that situation. They might not have as much pace as a Doku, but at least they can occupy him where they keep him out wide because I would prefer a tactic where Doku doesn't come inside. Just keep him out wide and if he does a cutback, then obviously our midfielders or defenders, they need to kind of intercept that ball and they need to read that situation. If we're too slow on that, then that's when there's going to be problems. Also, for me, I'm more concerned or equally concerned, not more concerned, I'm equally concerned about Bernardo Silva because as much as time as Doku will have on that left-hand side, pulling Emerson Royale out, I think that space in that kind of pocket, I think we're going to see Bernardo Silva occupying. Who's picking him up? Because at times Bernardo Silva might start in the fullback position, but then he might drop into midfield. Then he might play as a false nine. Then he might play run in behind Haaland. Do you know what I mean? So he's going to
Mm-hmm.
be busybodied. So we can't really man mark him because if you man mark him, there's always going to be a space where he's meant to be vacated. So I think he's a massive problem at the moment. Bernardo Silva, what do you do with him? How do you defend with him? Do you get a man to stay on him? Do you like let him go off? Like what do you do with him? Me personally, I wouldn't man mark him, but I would as soon as he comes into a particular zone, I would want one of my I want one maybe one of the centre backs or one of the midfielders to pick him up because it is a problem. It is going to be a problem.
It is absolutely going to be a problem. Look, Papa Matasar, well, by all intents and purposes, you were asking for who's going to be that right on the other side of Basuma because I imagine if it's going to be Giovanni Lo Celso, Kulusevski, whoever it may be as that third midfielder in there. For real quick,
Mm.
Kulusevski last week versus Aston Villa, I actually really liked him in the role that he was being played. Do you think we'll see a similar starting position for him? Because I think it's almost a collateral effect by having Kulusevski playing that role. Now you get Brennan Johnson shifting over to the right hand side, which is his preferred side, which is the side in which he was successful for Nottingham Forest, lest we forget. So for me, Ash, I really feel like moving Kulusevski in, Brennan Johnson on the right, really plays more into their strengths as players because I don't think Kulusevski is that type of winger where he's really going to stretch the pitch, where he's really going to pressure that back line of the opposition and really pressure him with, hey, I'm going to get vertical and you might need to worry about me making running in behind here. With Kulusevski, you don't have to worry about him making run in behind. When he has the ball, you know what he's going to do. You know where he wants to go. So I feel like from that right wing position, he's pretty predictable. But last week versus Aston Villa, his unpredictability because of, quite frankly, the free roaming role. Sometimes he was that second striker. Sometimes he was an 8. It was like I liked Kulusevski in that role because the things he does well and excels at, excuse me, I think were accentuated in that role. Whereas as a winger, I think some of those things can go by the wayside, and we just say, hey, as a winger, I guess he does the defensive work well. He helps hold up a defensive shape. But I think when we're talking about that guy who's going to be helping on the right hand side, it has to be Kulusevski for me. Do you see? And we're going to find out in about three minutes. We'll find out the lineup, and we'll have a better idea of how we're going to shake things up. But for you, what did you think of Kulusevski in that new role, and do you see that being something effective we could use versus City?
I think he was a lot more unpredictable playing in that 8, that central role. He did veer a lot to the right, but he was sometimes popped up on the left. Sometimes he was in behind the strikers. Sometimes he was like the false 9. He mixed it up a little bit, and I really like that. And I think he gave more space for Brennan Johnson. I think he gave more space for Hill when Hill was on that left-hand side. And he was just, the only problem for me was I needed those wingers to look for him a little bit more. And then I think he would probably score 2 or 3 goals in that game. But I thought he was exceptional. I thought it was a lot more unpredictable. And also pressing wise, he was a monster. I think that wasn't spoken about enough. Between him and Lo Celso, they were pressing, winning the ball back in those 2-8 roles. Centrally, they were winning the ball back and then keeping it simple, give it to other players. In terms of this game, I think it's slightly different. We're away from home. So I do expect maybe, and one of our journalists actually tweeted out a predicted lineup, and they predicted that Kulu would actually be on the right, and Johnson will go back on the left, and someone will be up top, which meant that Højbjerg actually sat as the number 6, meaning that Basuma would be the 8, and Lo Celso would be on the left, playing how he played it last game against Aston Villa. So I could see that happening because of the defensive problems we spoke about. Kulu again on that right wing would help out any opposition that Porro, like Porro likes to invert quite a bit, and he likes to play as a false 8. I think Kulu would sometimes help him out defensively, and then also Basuma would fill in that Sar role again, adding protection, and then you've got Højbjerg as the 6, cleaning up as well, just to help out your centre back pairing with Ben Davies and Emerson Royale, if that makes sense. So defensively, like, we're not as exposed, if that makes sense. Where we're at home, when we're kind of more gun ho, and we were like the team to kind of be pushing on them, I think it made more sense. But I think away at City, I think maybe like we're still going to keep with our principles, even though like everyone's thinking Højbjerg is a lot more pragmatic and a lot more safe. I just feel like maybe that is the tactic to give the team a little bit of balance, considering what we're going against them. But I think Kulu, I think we're going to see him a lot more in that 8 for games to come. But it'll be interesting to see what he does. Like, it'll be interesting to see if he does go with Kulu back in that 8 position, or if he does put him in that right wing, or if he makes Kulu the left wing and makes Johnson on the right wing, and it makes them go on the outside as opposed to inverting. So there's so many like question marks and so many conundrums. But I think defensively, just to go back to it, I think maybe he will do that.
It'll be interesting to see. We should find out. I'm watching the seconds tick by, and it is 3, 2, and 1. We should be getting a lineup. I'm refreshing the Twitter page as we speak. I haven't seen it yet. But I was watching the video that Spurs official put out on Twitter, and it's everyone walking into the building. Now, what I did notice was Richarlison, 1 day of training after the pubis surgery. He had surgery, if you remember, on something in the pelvic region called the pubis. But he's back. He was training, and he's walking in with the team. Here it is, the lineup. We've got it now. Ba-bam. There's the starting 11. As you see it, Ashmatic, Vicario Sicario in the net with Pedro Porro, Emerson, Royale, Ben Davies.
He's done it. He's gone for it. He's going for it. Listen, don't ever doubt Angelo. Hey, he's gone attacking. He's gone for it. He's gone for it.
You
He's
gotta
gone for
love
it.
to see it personally.
Yeah. You
Um,
know what it is? You know what it is? You know what it is? What it is like when you bring Hoiberg on and things aren't going too well, or even if you're trying to protect something, that in itself is a tactic because then that allows you to the rest maybe Brian who might be tired and then maybe move
real
Kulu from
quick, real quick, the bench. We
Santiago.
have we have two goalkeepers again, but we also have Alfie Dorrington, Oliver Skip, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Iago Santiago makes his first bench appearance for Tottenham Hotspur. Get in, young lad. Jamie Donnelly on the bench, Richarlison, and Alejo Veliz. Now, look, Iago Santiago is a guy who can come in for Brian Hill, and I love that. I absolutely adore that pick on the bench because if Brian Hill is not up to par, which to be fair, I have been very critical of Brian Hill. I have not been a cheerleader or a champion of Brian Hill of sorts. I have been highly critical of the man because I think it was bad business and I don't think the profile of what he is fits the league. But versus Villa last week, he made me say, okay, Brian, I see you, Brian. Thank you for that, Brian. Lest we forget, he did have a beautiful cross off the left boot. If Son was about 2 inches taller, it's a goal because he put it on a dime. So Hill can offer you something. But if he's not, look, we got Iago Santiago, we got Alejo Veliz, Richarlison, Jamie Donnelly. Hopefully, if Lo Celso doesn't want to get stuck in like he was last week. Now, to his credit, Giovanni Lo Celso did get stuck in very well last week. I thought he won ball back for us, even when he was not the one who turned the ball over. So that was very welcoming to see. But look, just to round out the lineup here, Destiny Udogie at the left back, Yves Basuma, Lo Celso, Kulusevski appears to be the midfield three, which is what I've asked for, which is what I predicted on United Spurs of America, and the front three of Johnson, Son, and Brian Hill. Now I like this because again, I was talking about that collateral impact, Ash. The collateral impact of moving Kulusevski into that free roaming 8 box to box because he's going to track back and do the defensive work. We know that, but seeing him in that, it just allows Brennan Johnson to play in his more natural position, which I think we will then see and be starting to get the best out of Brennan Johnson at that point. What do you make of our right hand side? Is that an avenue we can explore? Look to take advantage of maybe Ake, Akanji, or Vardiol?
Our right hand side, and I thought about it tactically, and I was like, basically, how it works is obviously Kulu's the top eight, and then behind him, it's almost like we play a 4-2-3-1. So in the two, the double pivots are basically Lo Celso and Basuma. On the left, Lo Celso goes, and on the right, Basuma goes. So those are the two double pivots, and then Kulu sits in front. Now, on that right hand side, you're going to have Basuma acting like a SAR. So at times you're going to see Basuma filling that fullback role that I was talking about. So that multi-purpose midfielder, that's what you're going to see with Basuma. He's going to see him fill on the right, and then also Brendan Johnson's going to have to also help out, get him back, and help him in his defensive work. Even when we lose the ball, naturally we go into a 4-4-2 anyway. So the 4-4-2, Johnson's going to be on the right hand side. Being a midfielder, protecting Porro. So Porro will drop back into this fullback role when we're in when City got like the ball when they're in our half and they're trying to pin us in, then that's when you'll see that 4-4-2 shape. But in possession, I think, go on.
I was gonna say, let me ask you something. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah,
I saw a comment from DB, big up DB. No Dyer on the bench.
yeah,
We have two
yeah.
goalkeepers, and Ainge Postacoglu would rather put Brandon Austin and Fraser Forster on the bench than have a center back. That's how bad Dyer is. Dorrington, shout out Dorrington. He's the only center back on the bench.
Mm.
Ash, if something happens, and I don't want to put this bad juju out there, but if we have to explore all avenues here, which shout out to 500 of y'all in the chat. Make sure you are hitting a like for We Are Tottenham TV every single time. Click both the links in the title. It's to my channel, Ash's channel, respectively, and go subscribe over there if you get the second. It'll take you about 15 seconds, and you don't even have to leave this stream at all. But Ash, Dorrington's the only center back on the bench. If something happens to Royale or Davies, what is it? Højbjerg going to step in? Is it Skip going to step in? Do you think he's mentally prepared them in the occurrence of, hey, we may need you to play center back today? What's going on here, Ash? Are we gonna move Vicario? Hey, we saw how good Vicario was at that sweeper keeper. Does he move into the center back and we put Fraser Forster? I don't know. What are we looking at, Ash?
I think you're right, man. I think at times we will have Vicario as a sweeper keeper, but going back to that, the main question, I think Dorothy will have to step up if needed be. And what a perfect time, you know. If you're gonna, no one's gonna be mad at a centre back, 20 years old or 18 years old, like if they make a mistake because it's their first game, like, and it's against City, the best team. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's the best team in the world, not just
Mm-hmm.
in the. They've shown time after time. So Dorrington, if he gets his chance, man, fair play to him. Fair play to him. And he would be excited as well. He'll be relishing in it. He'll be up for it. Remember, as you're young, you've got no fear as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the manager will clearly.
Look at Alejandro Garnacho. No fear, a kid, bicycle kick. You know what I'm saying? That was absolutely absurd. Shout out the young chap. That was an amazing goal to see. But big up Hotspur Hippie Paul says, "Morning chaps, good lineup. Spurs 3, City 0." Says we can keep City to 0 on the scoreline. Now, as much as I would love that to be true, I don't believe it. But Ash, you did mention Dorrington would relish at the opportunity. Someone
Yeah,
else who would relish at the opportunity, I believe, is Jamie Donnelly, Yago Santiago. Now,
yeah.
Alejo Veliz has gotten some appearances, and to me, he's looked like a small fish in a big pond, so to speak. And just, maybe the lights are a little bright right now. And he's a young chap, so I don't really judge him too hard on that. I think he still can come good. But not to say that he's bad by any stretch of the imagination, but when he has come on, he really hasn't offered anything. Do you think there's a world in which we may call upon Dorrington, Yago Santiago, Jamie Donnelly, and they would actually do something crazy like give us some hope about a future prospect here? Because something I've heard making the rounds is why is it Newcastle could play a 19-year-old and they look good, and then City could play a 19-year-old and they look good. Like why can't Spurs? And do you think today could be the day that we could see the budding prospect of some kind of youth that we could play? And it's like, oh, look at that kid. We actually got a tune out of him.
I think the difference is with Newcastle, I think their midfield was completely like obliterated. And I think that's where most of their injuries laden. Whereas I know they had injuries as well, centre back. I think they got 13 injuries, in fact. But I think, yeah, some of their midfielders were flat out. And so they were forced. I don't think it was like, hey, let's play our 18-year-old over some of our senior players that have had actual games, if that makes sense. So, me, like, of course, give the kids a run out. Do you know what I'm saying? Some people prefer to play them against like a Forest or maybe an Everton to get a run out. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, if you don't throw them in now, when will they ever be ready? You might as well throw them in a deep end. And Ange has always said, if the players are ready, it doesn't matter how old they are. He said they'll throw them in. So he's the one that's seen them week in, week out. He knows what their level is. He's gonna trust them. Do you know what I mean? It's not for us to say. I remember last time we did it with Tanganga, centre back. We even did it with Joe Roden. Mourinho threw out Roden, gave him a debut, and
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really work out too well. So it, it's a mad one, isn't it? I don't know what can I say, but look, I'm all for it. Like I said, I'm not gonna backtrack. If Donnelly comes on and he's doing bits, that means the board might not have to spend any money. Do you know what I'm saying? Come January, we might just fill all that because is that what the fan base is saying? Basically, we don't want to spend any money in the window in the January window. I know it sounds a bit extreme, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Play the youngsters, and then Levy all of a sudden's like, yeah, you know what? The youngsters are doing well. I don't think I need to back Ange in that way. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Maybe I'll buy one centre back, but look, if centre backs start playing well, do we need centre backs? Do you know what I mean? We've already
Mm-hmm.
bought Phillips in, wait for him to get better. Like he comes back in January. Let's say he comes back mid-January and he starts a game in the FA Cup. Then what? And then like he plays a blinder or a midfielder plays like Donnelly or Santiago. Santiago, I like Santiago. I think he's good. He's like a winger. But yeah, you know what? It's just arguments on both sides. But yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
give the youngsters a run out, man. Give the youngins a run. Give the youngins a run, man.
Give the youngins a run. And you know what, Ash? You just might find that the kids are all right. That's what I say. And I've often equated it to the old thought. theory of Schrodinger's cat, which is you don't really the end of the more. I'm not going to bore you with the ins and the outs of the thought process there, but at the end of the day, it's you don't know what is or isn't in a box until you open that box and find out necessarily. Now, Eric Dyer, we've opened that box 100 times and I've seen it 100 times and I know what it's going to offer. Now, Dorrington, Donley, Yago Santiago. I would even argue we are just beginning to open the box with Brian Hill, Johnson, Kulusevski in those roles, and maybe even throw Lacelso in there. These are guys. Lacelso's a guy that I was ready to see bye bye. I didn't think he cared about Spurs. I didn't think he loved Spurs, and I need you to love my club like I not exactly like I love the club. I get it. I'm a little bit crazy about it, but maybe love it. I mean, shit, love it a little bit. You know what I mean? And it just seemed like he didn't really care to be here. Kept getting loaned out. Same thing started happening with Brian Hill. So I started really getting to the point where it's just like, okay, I don't want these players here that really don't want to be here. But Brian Hill showed me something last week that he was willing to get his body thrown around like a rag doll, little tiny man rag doll, getting thrown around all over the pitch. And I'm looking at um Manchester City's lineup here. And, I'm thinking Brian Hill versus Kyle Walker. Do we think we're going to see joy? Ash, let me ask you Brian Hill versus
Yeah.
Kyle Walker, arguably one of the best, if not top three right backs in the league right now.
Mm.
Brian Hill, big day. Can he see some joy?
You know what, with Brian Hill, it's going to be an interesting matchup because I think when City go to a back three, when they're super aggressive, they will switch the ball over to maybe like a Phil Foden. He's going to be on that right hand side. He's going to be in the pocket as well. And sometimes what you're going to see is Carl Walker do overlapping runs. Now, if he does an overlapping run outside of Phil Foden, then there's going to be space for Brian Hill to run at and to get at. Do you know what I mean? And you're losing that pace at the back because you've only got Diaz and you've only got but to be fair, Guardiola is quite fast, but he's going to be in a fullback position. So Diaz and maybe a Kanji. Depends if a Kanji steps up in midfield as well. They're going to be super aggressive. So it, there's so many spaces opening up because what a Kanji does, he links up in the double pivot with Rodrigo. So Rodrigo will be playing that midfielder single pivot, but at times they link up as a two-man midfield. And so if that happens, then the space is there to hit. I saw it against Liverpool, the Liverpool game. That's what they were doing. They were trying to play through the central, or they were trying to go to the left where Doku was getting the most amount of touches. He had a record amount of dribbles on that side as well against Liverpool. But if he wants to stay on the outside, let them stay on the outside. I don't mind. We're going to be like really narrow in our block in the 4-4-2 when they have the ball. And I'm just thinking when we transition quick, Brian Hill, if he's got that space to run into, I'm hoping he does that. Like I'm not saying he's like lightning fast, but he's a good dribbler. And at times, if Davies and Royal, especially Davies, because Davies is going to be on that left-hand side, he has to be looking for Brian Hill every time. Or your doggy, because we haven't spoken about your doggy. Your doggy's importance. Sometimes he will be the man to overlap. Do you know what I mean? He's not always going to be an attacking eight and be in that kind of pocket or in that half space channel. Do you know what I mean? Doing that underlap and run. Sometimes he will be able to go out wide and run. But by the looks of it, just looking at that formation, that team, that lineup, I think our best form of attack or defense, shall I say, is attack. We're gonna attack. We're gonna defend high up. We're gonna use our fullbacks to defend high up in the 8 rows, and then Kulusevski is going to be pressing high. And again, you're going to see a lot of aggression from the Celso. And if we can win the ball up in those key areas, and then Vicario does that sweeper keeper thing because he's going to be the one that's going to be closest to Haaland now. He's going to be playing as a centre back. He's going to have to do a job and win those balls. And that's how we can get a point or two against the City team, I think.
It's going to be, I will say this, Ash. I feel no matter what you think, however the pendulum may swing, there's going to be goals scored today, lots of them. I think, shared amongst. Now it's just a matter of out in the wild wild west. Ash, they got a saying: you gotta shoot quicker and more than your opponent, and sometimes a little bit of luck, and you never know. You could be the quick draw McGraw in the South, and um, I think it's just going to be a matter of we're going to go down. I know we're going to go down a goal at least at some point. How do we respond? How do we react to it? And I feel strong in my hopes that these players are buying into the belief because the outside pressures are starting to creep in. Look, we've lost 3 in a row. This potentially could be 4. Everyone's predicting 4 losses in a row. Now, after 2 losses in a row, I said on United Spurs America, I don't feel there's no way in hell we are going to lose 4 in a row. So I thought Aston Villa would be that change of the tide, that we would get a draw or a win there, and that would be the result. And then, City will be what City is. But hey, this is going to be one of those matches I just think we're going to get smacked around a little bit. We're going to try to do some smacking, and I hope that we are successful in our smacking, for lack of better phrase, so to speak. But we are 13 minutes before closing this show. So what I do want to tell you all right now in the chat, if you want to know, or if you want your score prediction to be read out, rather, hit me in the chat right now. We will run through everyone's score predictions. I will give a visual representation real quick, just to those of you who are like, well, I don't want to give my score prediction without really seeing how the squads are lining up. Well, here you go. There's our 11 versus their 11. Now the shape, obviously, ours will change, theirs will change throughout the flow of the game. But essentially, this is a rough skeleton and almost very similar in a setup. Although, where they look, I'm reading some of their names on there, and I get a little concerned because look, Jeremy Doku, Phil Foden on the wings, I think can cause us problems, especially like we were mentioning when Udogi and Pedro Porro are inverting. You know what I mean? And they're really pushing high up. We're gonna find moments where it's Ben Davies and Emerson. What are you gonna do? Let's see your mental fortitude. I know they're gonna be having some things taken out of them. But hey, some predictions are rolling in. Ash, I want you to think of yours.
I got it.
Yo, you got it. Well, I'll go to you. I'll go to you first, and then we'll go to the chat, and then I'll share mine.
I personally think Spurs are going to just surprise a lot of people with the way we play today. A lot of people are expecting 4-0, 5-0, 6 us to get turned over. I don't think that will be the case. However, I do think City will win because their home record is so good. If we were at ours, I would be very bold and say, like, we're going to cause an upset. But again, we're missing a lot of key players, especially in that back line. I think that's what worries me the most. And it's such a shame that that team was changed at Aston Villa with that Bentancur injury, because I was getting some more confidence going into it. But hopefully Basuma steps up, and I'm going to go for a 2-1, just to City, 2-1 to City. But I think we're going to just play absolutely like commendable, and I think people are going to look at the performance more than the result. I think opposition fans, they're going to have a lot to say on the 4th loss, but I just I think it's going to be a good game, man. That's my opinion. I want us to win, though. I want us to win 3-1. I want a 3-1. I don't even want a draw. I want us to we have a win or lose, man. That's all I want. How do you feel, man? What are you saying?
Yeah, man. Of course, I want the win. We will see. Let's see what the chat says before I answer that. Let's see. Let's give me a time to mull again, real quick.
You were thinking the whole time I was talking. You're like, damn. But
no, I hear you, and I feel the same way. I just don't think the same. I don't think that
there'll be more goals in it. That's what you're
I'm having. Usually, my heart will overtake my mind expeditiously and tremendously and superfluously to an extent where I become a little bit deluded in my opinions. But this is one of those where it's like my head's fighting back, saying, "No, no, no, do not think that, because the second you do, Man City's gonna. This could get nasty quickly." But I think we're going to give it a go. I think George Washington said the best form of defense is an attack. And if we don't have any center backs who can play the damn role, you know what? Let's just attack them nonstop. They don't even get a chance to attack. Let's hope that works. Let's see. Henry Fogden's got 3-1 City. PC 3-1. Shahir says Spurs 3, City 4. Adrian Troca with a 2-0 for Spurs.
Jeez. Hey,
Riker. Hey, come on, Adrian. Adrian and Paul talking to us nicely right now. I like to see that. Big up Riker Williams, 6-5 Spurs, going to be a high scoring game. Nick Brown's got a 2-2. Rudy 2 with a 4-2 City.
This gets me G'd up. I
Or
need this
two.
energy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hey, I don't know, exactly how everyone runs this show, pre-match build up before, but I like to interact with y'all in the audience. So y'all in the audience tell me your score. It gets Ash fired up. It gets me fired up. Honestly, but except some of these scores are not so great. Kawasaki says 4-1 City. Yannick with a 2-2. Callum Roche, City 3, Spurs 6. Jordan says 3-2 to the Spurs, baby. Dan 3-2 Spurs. Potato says Spurs 3-2 late winner. Spurs with a 3-2 late winner. Love to see it. Henry Fogden 3-1 City because of our lineup. Imran Sadid says Spurs 2, City 1. Am I a dreamer? Yes, you are, but keep on dreaming, my friend. Timothy Whitaker says 4-3 City. Hope I'm wrong. Come on, you Spurs. Killer Rabbit with 2-3 Spurs. Love to see that. Shahir says City 4. Teresa Murphy 2-1 to City. Henry Fogden 3-1 to City. I already read that one. Shahir says, oh, I already read that one as well. So I think I'm getting to a couple repeats, or maybe I'm just losing my mind here in the morning. Bob Down Under, 4-2 Spurs. Love to see that. Richie is on the bench, ladies and gentlemen. That is true. Huge Tottenham win, 9-0 from top right. Love to see that. And then he says he woke up for a 3-1 loss. But that's okay, top right. Hopefully you're top wrong today. That's what I'm hoping. You're going to be top wrong today. Daniel Sandoval's got Fulham 2-3. Fulham? What are we doing here? Oh, because they're beating Liverpool right now. Very nice. Big up Scott M. Good to see you. Says, very nice to see you. Potato says Spurs. I already read that one as well. Love to see that. Jordan says 3-0 Spurs. Love to see it. Yogi Bear with a Spurs 3, City 4. Very interesting. Elise, very nice picture there, Elise, of a panda bear. Says 3-0 Spurs. Love to see that as well. Nolene says 3-2 Spurs. We got a lot of 3-2 Spurs, and hey, I love to see that. EJ's Flame 4-3 Spurs with a late winner. Olenstrom says 1-2 to the Spurs. Nolene 2 got a 2-2. Scott M with a 6-0 City. Jay Murray, that's a lot of goals. I don't know if 21-20 will be the goal, but hey, keep getting them predictions in. Atomic Killer TV says 3-1 Spurs. We Are Spurs says 10. Very nice. Elite Silver, 1-0 Spurs. Like to see that. Sean Maddox says 3-2 Spurs. Nolene. We already read yours, Nolene. Denzel with a 9-0. We've got some crazy score predictions out there. And, hey, keep on keeping on. You never know. I'll put it that way. You never know. I don't know about a 9-0 necessarily, but I'll take a 3-2. I'll take a 5-4 from Royce with his son. Masterclass. Could be. Soul Vanguard says 3-2 City. I'd like to see that. Turbo with a 2-0 Spurs. Wales Dixon says 4-2 City, to be honest. That's okay. You can predict a loss. Doesn't make you a bad fan. It just makes you think differently about, like, that's such a weird stance, I think, when people are like, oh, if you predict a loss, you're not a real fan, something like that. Look, you're just seeing it as you're respecting City, and I can respect that you're respecting it. However, I will be when it's game day, which it is. We are about to kick off in about 30 minutes, Ash. Now, for me, I don't care who it is, where it is, how we're playing, who's Donnelly, Dorrington, I don't give a damn. When we step onto that pitch, I believe anything is possible. That maybe that it makes me a fool, but anything is possible within them 90 minutes.
Quick
Just
one.
like
Alistair Gold reckons that Richarlison will have 5 or 10 minutes. He's fit enough to play 5 or 10 minutes. So if he does feature, that's basically all he's got to give. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with the whole added time one. You never know if it's VAR for players sent off, or they're looking at things if it goes offside.
I don't want to say this. I don't want to say anything extracurricular because my mindset, Ash, is to I always want to see the best 11 versus our best 11, because then us as the viewer, we get the best product. But for today, just for today, Ash, If
For
somebody
today,
gets sent off with a red card, I ain't gonna be upset about go Rodri, bye bye, go Holland, go Foden. Somebody do something cheeky, get sent off in the 12th minute. I would love to see this Tottenham 11 versus Manchester City's 10 because I think it would still be an end-to-end affair. It would be nice
it
to
would
see,
be.
but hey,
Would be. But you know what? I don't care about the opposition fans, but I'm just saying they will be like, yeah, but it was City 10 man. Yeah, you didn't really play them folks. Yeah, because if it was City's 4-11, then it'd be different. But I don't care. Like, if we need the win. Like, I think for the boys, the momentum. Like, sometimes it's just good to get the win on your shoulders and you go into the next game and you can kind of move from there. So, each and whatever way it comes, like you, I'm happy. I'm not mad if 10 men City turn up and we get the job done. It'll be embarrassing though if 10 Man City were to beat us. That's what I don't want. I'm like, why can't they do 11? I don't like embarrassment. That's all I'm saying. I just don't do the embarrassment. And there's quite a few people waiting for us. There's quite a few people waiting for us to fail and trip
yeah,
up.
they've been waiting on our downfall. Yeah,
The
they
world is
absolutely
watching
have.
this. The world is watching. So I'm just hoping that and listen, we're gonna go and attack.
You know
And
what they say though? It will be so Spursy of us to go out there and get a result.
it would be.
It'd be
It would
so Spursy of us to do what everyone expects us not to do, and that
exactly.
is, go ahead and get the result. I'll read through some more of these predictions before I give you mine, and we say goodbye, au revoir, and let's go enjoy this match. Leonardo Moniz says 5-1 City. Silly Singularity says 2-0 to City. Ray with a 3-3. Rosalina says 2-1 Spurs, please. FK M 19 says 2-2. Mosen YT says 3-1 versus City, but my gut is saying 2-0, 2-1 win. Love to see that. My dad says 4-1 City, says EJS. Your dad might be right, but I hope he's very, very wrong. Thuma Paven says 5-4 Spurs. Love to see that as well. Jay Murray, sorry, that was my football prediction. Soccer scores 1-1. Okay, love to see that. MV Joker Davis with a 2-1. Gafir with a 4-1 Spurs. Love to see that. Drowsy's 3-0 telling us about the Liverpool match there. J Robert 4-2 City Howland hat trick. Simran Deep says City 3-1. I don't like that one, Simran. I'm not gonna be lying to you here. Not Tottenham Tom says 3-3. I think look, I'm going to leave it here for Tottenham Tom because, first of all, the sun is rising in your photo. The sun has rised here in El Paso, Texas. It's a beautiful day. And I got nothing but passion and hope and desire for us to see this very result right here. While I would like the win, however, I am a little bit realistic. I'm saying a little 3-3 is going to be a back and a forth, a little shake it over here, a little shake it over there. And next thing you know, you're shaking it everywhere. And the thing gets shake up, we get the point, they get a point. And look, people told me when we went to the Emirates, they said,
told
you
us.
play attacking football. You play this open brand of football. You're going to get thrashed 4-1. It's going to be a bloodbath at the Emirates. You play this brand of football. They're
They
saying the
told us.
same thing again about playing this brand versus the Etihad. Now, the squad does look different now than it did versus the Emirates, admittedly. But we never stop. And that is Ange Postecoglou's mentality. So look, I'm predicting a 3-3, a 3-3. It will be a back and forth affair. It'll be a lot of fun. I think we go down at time, we go up at a time, and at the end of the day, we share the honors, and it's going to be a fun match. That is my thoughts. I've appreciated every single one of y'all who have tapped into this show. Make sure you are hitting a like for We Are Tottenham TV. Make sure you are subscribing to them, their secondary channel, etc. And once you're done liking and subscribing over there, make sure you go over to see Ashmatic at Southview Coys and hit a like and subscribe over there as well. Make sure you go to United Spurs of America, America's #1 Tottenham Hotspur fan channel, and that's because of viewers like y'all in the chat. So big up! If you've enjoyed this, you can catch more of us. Look, we do also stream together on each other's respective channels, so you can always find us together there. But look, Tottenham versus Man City kicks off in less than 30 minutes, Ashmatic. So it's time for us to go. It's time for us to go. We got to get the popcorn ready. We got to get everything ready because it is going to be.
Hey, listen. Attack, attack, attack. That's what I'm going to say. Attack, attack, attack.
I love it. You got any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Nah, man. I've got no final thoughts, man. In Andrew Trust, talk to me nice as always.
Talk to me nicely indeed.
If not at all. So, yeah, man. We do this. And hopefully the boys can just run amok. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the boys to turn up and just do what we do and do what we do best, you know. And style. Give us some Ange ball and I'm happy. I look
Yeah,
forward to it every week.
that's my thing. They make movies. This is my final thought. They make movies. They write stories about this very scenario over time and time again throughout mankind, throughout the history of written literature. They have made stories about this, Ash. They write novels. It's in religious text as well. The odds are against you. No way you go there and you do X, Y, and Z. That's what they say. That's what they want you to think. But the stories have been written for a reason. Impossible is not a thing today. As you may say, it is highly improbable. And while many would agree with you, I'm going to say this: nothing is impossible in the most beautiful sport in the world. They make movies like this for a reason. David versus Goliath, Rudy. I mean, you could name any sports movie, and it's
Mighty
a
Ducks. Mighty
Mighty
Ducks, son.
Ducks.
So
Quack,
I get those vibes.
quack, quack. That's the vibe. Look, we go out there with the same belief that you and I have here today, Ash. We may go out there and get 3 points. It's just that plain and simple. But that's going to do it here for the pre-match build-up here on We Are Tottenham TV. So make sure you are hitting a like and subscribe before we say goodbye. It's been a fun one. Hope to catch y'all next time at this very same place. Stick around here on the channel for the watch along and the post-match reaction call-in show. Hopefully we're celebrating. But see y'all there on the other side. As always, up the lads and come on, you Spurs.